Howdy, folks. I'm Brian.
I'm Amber.
And here's some Reddit. So before we begin, we have a little bit of a debate question.
We do. So Brian here has this mug, and in the mug, there is a tea bag. You will notice this tea bag here. We're entering that in as evidence. He also has water in this mug. Now, Brian insists that this is water, whereas I insist because there is a tea bag and it is turning the water a tea color, it has to be tea in this cup.
So here's the real story behind it, and not Amber's exaggerated version that has no basis in reality. I am a slob. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not really a slob. I'm a horrible tea drinker. I like my tea very strong, and sometimes I'll reuse tea bags. So this time around, I reused this tea bag, and I just didn't take it out of the water, and so it's just been steeping in cold water with hardly any tea flavor. It does have a smidge of tea flavor, but hence that's about. Tea. So it would be the world's weakest tea if it were tea, but it's not, of course.
It is 2 tea. So Reddit, tell us, is it water or is it tea? It's definitely tea, though. Definitely tea.
It's YouTube, not Reddit. Amber.
Or Reddit. YouTube, sorry. We all know where my brain is today.
Yeah. All right, folks, our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Giving My Girlfriend's Cat to Her Ex? The title seems bad, but there's a number of reasons for it. My girlfriend got her cat with her ex back when they were together, a couple of months before we were together. So technically, I'd say they were co-owners of it. Anyway, the cat lives with her now. The cat is a jerk, though. It screams, it scratches, and it bites for no reason. I don't think she knows how to take care of it. It's always dusty and grumpy, and when I see it, I feel like something's wrong here. It also actively interferes with our relationship. You see, I'm allergic to cats, so I can't stay over at her place for too long. And while she doesn't have any roommates or anyone who can stay and take care of the cat, she can't stay over at my house because she needs someone to watch the cat. This is annoying because it feels like I hardly get to spend any personal time with her. All that in mind, a couple of days ago, I was off work, so I drove over to her place to surprise her. She wasn't there for whatever reason, so it was just me and the cat. I contemplated waiting for her to get back, but the cat kept screaming and scratching as usual. I felt my eyes starting to water and my nose to run, so I was about to bail when I noticed some guy approaching her house. Dun dun dun. I had a short talk with him and managed to figure out that he was the ex, the cat's other owner, specifically here for the cat. No hesitation, I allowed him to get his cat back and to head out. I went home right after that. Again, by all definitions, he's just as much an owner of the cat as my girlfriend is. She starts freaking out later that day about the cat missing. I didn't want to tell her what had happened yet until she calmed down a bit. And again, I wasn't worried since I knew the thing was safe. A couple of days passed and she's still upset.
I wonder why.
And then finally, after a couple of days, I tell her of the encounter and my justification for letting him take it. She's not very happy with me or her ex. I don't understand why. You did the most reasonable thing ever. She gets on the phone with him and the two start arguing about the cat. He brings up that he bought the cat in the first place and he paid for the past vet bills. Partway in the conversation, she drags me into it. And again, I repeat my point that he has just as much right to the cat as she does. Taking his side didn't help to calm her.
Oh, yeah, I wonder why.
So I haven't spoken to her much since this all went down. Pretty sure she got the cat back, but I can't confirm. Again, I do think he has some stake in that cat, but was I wrong for not putting up a fight for it? Like, it isn't my cat.
What a way to misrepresent what happened here.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with not putting up a fight for the cat, but you literally let this guy into her apartment without her consent.
Yeah.
Let him take the cat. and then just like didn't even tell her where her beloved cat had gone to for like days.
3 days, and then you're like, oh, hey, by the way, I let your ex-boyfriend take him. And I mean, okay, if the ex had come to the house with like weapons and threatened you and was like, hey, give me the cat or else.
Right. Then you can let him take the cat, but then you also tell your girlfriend, oh, by the way, your ex came by and stole your cat. He held me at gunpoint. There was nothing I could do.
Yeah, but this wasn't the situation here.
No, you just like let the guy into her house without her consent. Like you point out, it's not your cat. You had no stake in the issue. You were not in the right to let someone else in. Like you should just let it be.
So I like this phrase right here. So I was off work and I drove over to her place to surprise her. He sure did surprise her.
Yes, well, he's talking about how he wants to spend more time with her, but yeah. I have a feeling this is going to have an opposite effect on their relationship.
Yeah, I have a feeling that you're right. For some reason, call us psychics here. I have a feeling that their relationship may very well be over.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, like, what is it with people giving away their partner's pets?
Yeah, like, if you're going to date someone with a pet, you have to accept that they have a pet, and the pet is going to have a place in their lives. You don't have to be best friends with the pet, but you do have to accept that the pet is important to them.
Well, Amber, but he's allergic.
Then don't date someone with a cat if it's that big of a deal breaker to you.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like, because he is allergic, I do feel a little bad for him and his allergies, but I don't feel bad for I don't think, like, I don't have any sympathy for her dumping him, but I do feel bad, like, allergies and, you know, suffering and not being able to spend time with his girlfriend. This was not the thing to do.
Yeah, well, and cat allergies run in my family. I don't personally have them, but my siblings both do, and they both have cats. So, like, if a cat is important to you, and it doesn't sound like he's, like, deathly allergic. It sounds like the runny eyes type of thing.
Yeah.
You can take allergy medication beforehand a lot of times, and that can help.
Yeah.
I think both my siblings have had to do that, or at least one of them have. So there are remedies if you have a mild cat allergy. So it doesn't even have to be the end of the world.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my daughter, who's a 5-year-old female, that she would be getting a bob cut if she couldn't manage her own hair? My wife, my daughter's mother, recently passed away. Before she passed away, my wife would always do our daughter's hair. She has long hair that goes down to the middle of her back. My wife would often braid our daughter's hair or put it in a ponytail or style it if she left it loose. I'm a guy who has almost always had short hair. I had long hair for 1 or 2 years when I was a baby, my parents' choice, and my mother always did my hair then, not my father. Since the age of 3, I've always had short hair and never grown it out, so I really don't have experience dealing with and styling long hair. The funeral rituals ended a few days ago. During the funeral, my mother-in-law did my daughter's hair, but now she has gone back home. She lives in another country. My daughter came up to me and asked if I would braid her hair before school today, just like her mother used to. Her school is partially online and partially in person right now. I told her I didn't know how to do that and to figure it out herself. If she couldn't, then I would take her to get a bob cut. She started crying. A bob cut, for those who don't know, is short hair, kind of like a buzz cut or a crew cut. So he's not even talking like a normal bob. He's talking like really short hair. Am I the jerk? Now, luckily in this update, it does have a happy ending. I read the responses and realized I am the jerk. My daughter's long hair is something she and her mother bonded over. It would be cruel to get rid of that, especially when she doesn't want me to. It's similar to someone chopping my wedding ring in half, which I would be horrified of. Last night, I did a lot of research on dealing with girls' hair and checked to see what products my wife had used to care for my daughter's hair. I also watched videos and read online articles on how to braid hair. This morning, I woke my daughter up a little earlier than usual. I kissed her on the forehead, apologized, and told her I was going to braid her hair before school. She smiled and gave me a big hug, which was heartwarming. After she brushed her teeth, I washed her hair, dried it, detangled it, combed it, and braided it. My daughter was over the moon and looked beautiful. After school is over, we are going to head over to the convenience/drugstore to buy more shampoo, conditioner, hair oil, a new brush, and even a few cute bows, hair ties, and headbands. I told my daughter that I will do her hair every day until she is older, and she said I am the best father ever. And I will keep my word because I'm not just a father anymore. I'm a mother too, Mr. Mom, and I love my daughter. This has been a rough time, but my daughter and I are going to get through it together. Doing her hair this morning was a great way for us to bond. So I think the update really does a good job addressing some of the big issues with the original idea.
Yeah.
And I can say also from a personal perspective, when I was a little kid, I had a hard time taking care of my hair. And the way my mom was, if something wasn't important to her, then it wasn't important at all. So I wanted really long hair, but my mom was like, no fuss, kept her hair short because she didn't want to deal with it. So she was always dragging me off to get my hair cut short. And I hated it. It made me really sad. And because it was the same, it was, this shoulder length cut with bangs every single time. And and it was really hard on me as a kid. And so let your kids have their hair as they want it. I mean, I understand it can be hard and frustrating, especially if you've never done something before. Like, I understand the hesitation of wanting to take care of your daughter's hair.
Yeah, well, I can certainly understand. And with him never having any kind of experience, with him, this was something that he's never thought about doing. But it was really good that he was actually ended up being open about wanting to do this and wanting to bond with his daughter and realizing that he needed to kind of step up and do this for her.
Yeah. Well, and it's the little things sometimes that make all the difference. You can see how the daughter's attitude completely changed here once her dad was like, I'm going to do your hair for you. It was such a big thing for her.
Yeah.
And so letting your kids have that amount of autonomy, even if it's a little bit harder on you, takes more of your time, it can make a really big difference in their life.
Well, and also I think this brings a little bit of normality to her life. And
it's even though mom's gone, she still gets her hair done in the morning. She still gets that morning routine.
Yeah. And that can be really hard, especially for a little kid who's lost their parent. Is that everything is probably in chaos and nothing is normal and whatnot. So this little bit of normality, I'm sure, will go a long ways towards helping things go back to some semblance of normality.
Yeah.
Not that everything will be all right ever for them, but I mean, that's life.
But if you're ever wondering if you should chop your kid's hair against their will, and you thought you've got a really good reason, probably don't do that. Just help them style it. If they scream and cry a little, that's fine. I would have probably cried if my mom had styled my hair, but, I would have been fine with it.
All right. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk to Not Want to Fulfill My Soon-to-Be Ex's Request? I've been in the middle of a divorce for over 2 years now. My soon-to-be ex-wife tends to always come up with, stupid requests. Today, she proposed one of her finest. Would you mind if we changed the kids' last names to add my last name? As in hyphenated with her maiden name. We have a 6-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter, both of which I've seen in person less than 5 times since the start of the divorce. My first reaction was to make sense of why she'd want to do that, but this whole divorce has been her way of trying to get her way. Am I the jerk for feeling so strongly about not wanting my kids to have a hyphenated last name?
Yes.
Well, okay, on top of that, this whole situation just seems like a mess, but him saying this is the stupidest request that she's ever made, it's kind of makes you wonder, okay, well, if this was the dumbest thing that she asked for, what other things could she have possibly asked for?
Yeah, well...
Can I have alimony? Because...
Exactly.
So dumb.
The way he trivializes her request here is completely inappropriate. This is a perfectly reasonable request.
Yeah, well, if she's going to her maiden name, then it might be easier for, school documents and whatnot for the kids to have a hyphenated last name.
I was going to say the same thing. There, unfortunately, are a lot of issues, even today, where a lot of kids do have different last names than their parents. With schools and kids not having the same last name as their parents.
Yeah.
It can delay their contact and stuff like that. So especially it sounds like she's the one who's primarily taking care of the children. So having the same last name is important for school documentation and medical records, just so that she can have access to the children if they need her.
Yeah.
But
Oh, go. What were we gonna say?
I was going to say, but on top of that, like, these children are as much hers as they are his.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. Is like they're their children, and the thing that's odd to me is like, what has happened here that he's only been able to see the kids 5 times in 2 years?
I was wondering the same thing.
And he has a 2-year-old child, which means that they've been divorcing
since that kid
was an
born.
infant.
Yeah.
You know? So it seems like there's probably a lot more to this story than what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
And probably, I mean, I don't want to jump to any conclusions, so I'm not going to say anything, but I'm just going to say that there's more to the story here. And given the way he's acting here, I don't know that more to the story would paint him in any better of a picture.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, I mean, I think it's a completely reasonable request to have the kids have both of their last names. I mean, she's not asking even to change their names entirely, which I might still think she would at least have an argument for if she's the primary caregiver. She's just asking to tack on her last name.
Yeah.
So, it's not a stupid request for sure.
No.
Our last story for today is, am I the jerk for not wanting my girlfriend to display her rocks? So recently my girlfriend, who's a 21-year-old female, moved in with me, a 23-year-old male. We also share the apartment with a friend, another 23-year-old male. My girlfriend likes to collect things like figurines, cups, and such. It varies from time to time what exactly that thing will be. It's normally quite harmless, and I try my best to be supportive of her, and I even indulge her sometimes. When she moved in, she brought some of her things with her, but she left a lot of her figures and other stuff in her parents' storage. She told me she understood that our room is quite small and didn't want to take up too much space, though she brought her biggest collection with her, her rocks. Now, I'm not one to judge, but her rock collecting is quite obsessive. Most of the rocks in her collection are just ones she's found outside, nothing special about them really. She'll just pick one up off the ground and put it in her pocket. Whenever she goes out, she's bound to come home with a rock or two she's found outside. She wants to display them on a bookshelf, but I think it's going to take up too much space for something silly. I don't understand why all the rocks need to be on display when they're just normal rocks. We got into a big argument over it, and I'm at a loss. She doesn't think I'm being supportive of her and her rock collecting. I support her completely. I just don't think that some rocks are special enough to take up so much space. Am I the jerk?
I support her completely, but also, I don't support her.
Well, exactly.
Well, okay. I think it really depends on, like, I do think that they're the jerk here, but also, like, what are these actually? It's hard to know from the tone of his letter if they actually are just rocks or if there's more to them than that. Like, are they quartz? Are they, different?
I don't think it's relevant.
Yeah.
My personal feeling here is if he would give her the bookshelf for another of her collection, because it doesn't sound like he's talking about how the rocks, are going to take up too much space, but it also sounds like he would be willing to give her this bookshelf for a different collection. It's just the rocks.
So, okay, you're reading it as that he's willing to sacrifice the bookshelf for one collection, just the rocks seem like over the top for him?
That's how my read on it is that he's talking about the rocks taking up too much space. But if he would give her the bookshelf for other things, then it's not a space issue anymore. It's an issue of, I don't like your collection and I don't think it's worthy of being on display.
Yeah, well, I certainly think he should support her in her collecting, as long as this is, like, because sometimes obsessive behaviors can be dangerous, and I'm not saying that that's particularly the case here. I think that this is a really hard one to judge on her behalf because we don't know her story, but I don't know, I think that if the rocks are special to her and she likes them, then it seems like a harmless enough collection.
Well, she's asking for one bookshelf, thing. Like, I'm assuming these rocks aren't like taking over their whole apartment, because I think it's fine to put limits on how much space in general.
Yeah, I do think that.
Because two partners, they need to be able to share spaces, and so, but if it's just that you don't like the rocks and you don't think they're special to you, then yeah, you're being a jerk, and let her decide what's her most special collection.
Yeah, because I know someone who, collects certain things. And they do it kind of obsessively and without, like, say, for instance, snow globes. And they'll collect these snow globes, like, for no reason. They have no sentimental value. They're just something for them to...
Snow globes with someone's broken wedding anniversary on them because they were a real bargain at the thrift shop.
Yeah. This is someone that Amber and I know. Neither of us is this individual. But they sometimes collect some weird things, and it can really be... like the collections they have aren't really collections at all, and they kind of just take up a lot of space. So I don't know.
Well, I think, though, because she does seem willing in this letter to understand that it can only take up so much space. Because the problem is with the individual you're referencing that they have no sense of space. Like, their entire house is covered in this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a very different thing, whereas she is only taking her rocks with her, it sounds like. She's picked one collection that's special to her. And it seems like he would have been happier if she'd taken the figurines or something.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, like, we don't have enough information to judge, like, whether this is something that borders on actually being obsessive for her, because he uses the word obsessive.
He does use it, but people use that colloquially all the time.
And so that's all my concern is. Like, as long as this is healthy, as long as she isn't doing this in kind of like a... an actual obsessive way, because he sounds like she goes out into the backyard and picks up rocks and then brings them home, like pockets full of rocks every day or something like that. Like, when I was little, okay, I used to collect rocks, and it was not probably in the same way that she collects rocks. I would go out to, like, the playground and I would pick up rocks and I would stuff my pockets full of them, and then my mom would get mad at me because she would wash my jeans and they would have rocks in them, and these rocks would be banging around in the washing machine and stuff like that. My mom wasn't happy with me for collecting rocks. So, my
mom wasn't happy with you for a lot of things.
Yeah, my mom wasn't happy with me for a lot of reasons. So again, like, I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, because I think that his lens here is really colored. But if this isn't an actual obsession, as long as this is healthy, as long as she's cognizant about how much space is being taken up and they set those proper boundaries, I think it's fine, and she should be able to display her rock collection if she wants to.
And I think setting aside the issue of whether there's mental illness involved or not, it is not your place to judge whether your partner's things are valuable or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand that to you they're just rocks. Like, that's fine. You don't have to value your partner's stuff in the same way that they do. But you have to, like, as long as it's not something that is either actively harmful or something like that, just
my asbestos collection.
Yeah, well, there are some things that you wouldn't want. Like, I can see there being some things that if they're hazards to health or something like that there would be reasonable limits to put on someone having in your place. But, like, if it's something like rocks, like, they're not going to hurt anyone. Just let her have her rocks. Let her enjoy her rocks.
Buy a rock tumbler. Maybe she'll like a rock tumbler and transform the rocks into shiny, cool stones that you both can enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, who knows? All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy this video, consider giving me a thumbs down. Thanks so much to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully, you enjoyed this.
And our camera has not broken yet this time.
It hasn't. It hasn't frozen once. So maybe it's the day of the week. Maybe it's Thursdays when the camera freezes. Maybe my computer has been on for too long by the time Thursday rolls around. My poor computer is probably not happy with me at that point in time. And don't forget to tell us whether you think this water of mine is water
of his
or tea. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.